Sporting Journal Radio, presented by Onyx.
And speaking of the legislative process, there was a new bill that just drive me crazy. This was a ridiculous new bill that would ban the DNR from implementing a hunting or trapping season on wolves should they lose their federal protections. Also, a one-sided article about the bill came out in a local newspaper. This bill was introduced by Mary Kunesh, a Democrat from New Brighton, in the Senate, and then there was a companion bill in the House by Peter Fisher, also Democrat from Maplewood. Now, let me be clear. I believe that the DNR should be able to manage an animal that is above population goals. There's been an issue in the past with the DNR not listening to the hunters and anglers in the state, and it seems they've tried to be a little bit more transparent about the process with public input meetings, roundtable, things like that. Now I think they've gone a little bit too far and have allowed the emotions of citizens who are most likely not in the state's wolf range have a say in the state's management of them. Now, guys, this is a tough one. Let me ask you this question, because when it comes to management of wolves, it's a very emotional subject in the state of Minnesota. Now, it comes to managing something, when there's a big thing that the state needs to make a decision on, should all the residents be involved in that decision, or should the people who are more likely to be involved in interactions with, say, a wolf, like livestock producers, hunters, residents of the North, should the debate be open to the entire population of the state, or should it be primarily the people involved with that animal?
Well, I mean, this is America. All voices can be heard, but I think all voices maybe, I don't know how to say this without getting in trouble. I don't know how to say this without getting in trouble, because the people most affected by wolves should be the ones whose voices are heard the most. I would think, right? Somebody who lives in a high-rise in Minneapolis shouldn't really, if they love wolves, sure. I love wolves too. I don't want them eradicated, and everybody can have a say. We all get to vote. That's part of our right as an American. But should they be the ones deciding on wolf management when livestock producers are getting just screwed over? I don't know. I'm going to bow out. I don't want to get
That's the dilemma, and that's the tough part. And I don't know, David, if you had an opinion on it, but that's the tough part, because I do like being able to give everybody a say, but maybe the people that are stakeholders should have more weight. And that's the reason that I have issues with this whole topic, because there was an article that came out in the Forum, one of the Forum newspapers. I think I read it in the Grand Forks Herald, but it was from the Forum out of Fargo. And they talked about this new bill, and then they cited a study from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources and the University of Minnesota that said, I think the article, I better just pull this up real quick to make sure I don't get this wrong, but the article said that some hunters and cattle farmers want a state-sanctioned wolf season to reduce wolf numbers. But statewide polling by the DNR and the University of Minnesota showed that most Minnesotans want to keep about the current number of wolves in the state. So when you read that, you go, oh my gosh, I guess we're in the minority here, because the majority of people in the state want to keep numbers the same. Now, that doesn't mean they don't want a hunting season. That doesn't mean they want numbers gone. That doesn't mean they want numbers to explode. So to keep numbers about the same, you probably have to implement some sort of management tool, which the DNR in the past has liked to have a hunting or trapping season. They like to have that at there as a management tool to have. Now, I don't know about the current administration, but I know in the previous administrations, the previous DNR administrations, they have stated that they like to have that option in their toolkit for management of the wolves. Now, again, I don't know about the current administration, but so that article makes it sound, and they quoted someone from Howling for Wolves, which is a big pro-wolf advocacy group. I didn't see any other quotes from anybody that would have been pro-wolf hunting. So I take a big issue with the way this article seemed very, very one-sided and biased, because let's break it down a little bit. This research study done by the University of Minnesota and the DNR sent surveys out to 5,250 residents. They sent out the survey to 2,500 livestock producers and 2,000 hunters. Now, you might ask, why did residents get mailed more surveys? Well, residents are most likely not to respond as much as a hunter or farmer, rancher, about the topic of wolves. So they oversampled residents to try to get an equal number across the board. Well, what they got back was 1,466 respondents from residents. And let's see, where's the rest of it? Well, in any case, they got a similar percentage. They got 36% respondents from residents. I think they got about 50% from hunters and livestock producers. In any case, that is 1,275 people, residents of the state of Minnesota, that were against essentially having a hunting season, or basically said they want to keep the population the same. So that's less than 1,300 people basically saying they want to keep the numbers the same, according to this article. The article says statewide polling shows that majority of residents want to keep the numbers the same. Well, that's less than 1,300 people in this study. So they didn't break down numbers. So to read through that article, you have to go in and break down the numbers just a little bit. So in any case, they also, bringing up your point, Dan, of why residents should have as much say as hunters and livestock producers, when the stakeholders should have more say. So they weighted underrepresented communities and underrepresented respondents so that they could try to get an equal amount of response from different people with different backgrounds across the state, because the majority of responders were older men that were producers or hunters. So they gave them less weight. According to what I've been able to read, and unless somebody from the DNR or the U of M can correct me, they gave men who are farmers, ranchers, and hunters less weight in this survey. So I think the survey is flawed from the beginning, because to me, the people that are more likely to interact with wolves should have more weight in the survey. And so in any case, I guess a similar bill went through the Senate and the House, I think, in 2019, and it passed. I don't think it ever got signed by the governor, to ban the potential use of a hunting or trapping season should wolves be delisted once again. So I don't know if this will actually get signed or not by our governor, but I would be very disappointed if I saw the DNR handcuffed from being able to use a hunting or trapping season on wolves to manage wolves in the state of Minnesota. And shame on you, Forum, for writing an article like that. Just goes to show you can't trust headlines. We've learned that about a few different media sources. We can't say anything more than that, but yeah. I'll tease this. We might have some other hunting news that has been skewed a little bit in the last few weeks. So keep it tuned here. And I'm not just saying that. That's actually a legit thing. Yeah. Things are getting weird in the media, so do some research on what you actually read in newspapers and other places, and that's a no-brainer. We know that, but it goes to show it's happening in the hunting and fishing world too. Well, I will only give interviews to certain people nowadays. I stopped when I worked in Fargo and radio. I stopped doing interviews with the newspaper up there because I was always misquoted, and the story was never. They always left something out of the story of what I told them. So in any case, we'll keep you updated here on the show, or if you have an issue with this, make sure you let your representative know how you feel on this issue and all issues regarding the outdoors.
Hear more at sportingjournalradio.com or wherever you get podcasts. 852 million acres of public land, 147 million private properties, all in the palm of your hand. The #1 hunting GPS app just got better. With hundreds of custom map layers, 3D and topographic maps, you can easily scout on the road or at home before you go. And now you can get important weather details, CWD detection, and even know what crops have been planted where. Get the most trusted hunting GPS app ever made. OnX. Know where you stand with OnX.